Gucci, Gucci 2 times, say it 2 times. Gucci, Gucci 2 times, say it 2 times. Gucci, Gucci 2 times.
Magically turns men into women and women into men, which was always amusing. I like hearing undereducated comedians talk about how science makes chromosomes magically change because people think subjectively that they are of the other sex. So I thought that we should play some video of, I think, a transgender icon. And I'm not talking about some of the people who get heavily made up to go on TV. I'm not talking about that man who thinks he's a woman who's on Orange is the New Black, and I can never remember this person's name. Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Eddie Redmayne in The Danish Girl with all the lighting and all of the makeup to make him look as much like a woman as humanly possible. I'm not going to talk about that. I want to talk about this charming, charming 6-year-old girl. And do we have a video of the 6-year-old girl? Let's bring up a video of the 6-year-old girl.
She said, stop being trans or leave. So that, to me, stop being trans isn't something I could do. It'd be like telling me to stop being, 6'2" or leave. And I was who I was. I was trans before we married. I was a trans parent for 23 years. It floored me, it scared me, because I didn't know how to not be trans.
Stephanie Walsh, welcome to Daily Extra. You are one of the people profiled in the Transgender Project web series and as well the TV show Am I a Boy or Girl? Why did you decide to go so public with your story?
I paid a pretty heavy price for transitioning, and so at a certain point I thought, I've already lost everything and everything's happened.
So, okay, first of all, I just want to point out the spelling here. So it's not just enough that you... It's Stephanie Walsh, right? Here's how that is spelled for people who can't see the video of this. And if you can't see the video, you're missing half of the fun, because Stephanie Walsh is a 52-year-old fat dude who's wearing a wig and a dress and is delusional. Stephanie is spelled Stephonee. Stephanie. Right? So it's not just enough. So I guess the perversion of sex is not enough. The perversion of spelling has to be added. So here's the part about Stephanie Walsh, right? That really is astonishing. So it's not just that Stephanie Walsh thinks that Stephanie Walsh is a woman. Okay? And this guy, by the way, he's deeply immoral. He left his family, right? He left his kids so that he could go live this lifestyle. The lifestyle that he is living is not, the lifestyle that he is living is not of just a woman. It's of a 6-year-old girl. It's of a 6-year-old girl. And I think he talks about it here, how he actually deep down inside, he's not a 52-year-old woman. He's a 6-year-old girl in his head, and none of us can judge, right? That's it. So, and according to Patton Oswalt and Company, science says that the man that you're looking at, the 52-year-old man that you're looking at, according to Patton Oswalt and Reza Aslan, who jumped in also, I didn't know who Reza Aslan really was, to tell you the truth. I thought he was just the king of Narnia, but it turns out that he's a commentator. But in any case, they all say that science dictates that Stephanie Walsh is, in fact, a 6-year-old girl, not a 52-year-old man. We'll listen to Stephanie Walsh talk about his 6-year-old girlness.
I'm going to be me, and I'm going to show other people that it's okay to be feminine for a guy. And so by coming completely out of the closet, it just liberated me to the point where, let's do this, let's talk about it, and let people know that this is okay. 2007, when I actually stepped forward and started getting myself educated as to who I was and what this was, I was pretty naive.
But that naivete would quickly come to a crashing halt. At age 46, after 23 years of marriage and 7 kids, Stephanie realized she wasn't a crossdresser. She was transgender, a person whose gender is different than the sex they were assigned at birth.
I'm genderqueer, I'm queer, I'm queer.
So having said that, what have you heard from people?
A lot of feedback. There's a lot of positive feedback. There's a lot more people that are trans. Like, a lot of people come out to me. I get guys that you wouldn't think that want to wear, like cops and bikers, and can I wear a dress? So it gets very playful, because you look at people and you think you understand what they're all about. You know, when you see a guy that's 300 pounds with a goatee who pulls in a Harley and is going through my closet and saying, can I wear this dress? Can I wear that dress? You know, or can I kiss you when I'm wearing the dress? You don't expect it.
That's right. Stephanie has moved on, believing that she will never be.
So enough of this, but the uncut version of this, okay, this is the cut version. The uncut version of this interview, quote, "It's called play therapy. No medication, no suicide thoughts, I just get to play. Even in jail, where he spent 9 days in solitary confinement," this is according to The Independent, they say she spent 9 days in solitary confinement, but does not explain what for, "she played. She made the cell a kingdom and sang songs there and would not be an adult. So she said they could not hurt her, saying, if I'm 6 years old, I don't have to think about adult stuff." This is a 6-year-old girl you're looking at here. A 6-year-old girl that you're looking at. As she was never allowed to be a girl, she feels she is filling that tank full of little girl experiences and loves the fact that she has access to really pretty clothes and doesn't have to act her age. By not acting my age, I don't have to deal with the reality of my past because it hurt. Okay, first of all, again, this person has, 7 children? 7, but I was not aware that biological females can impregnate another woman to the tune of 7 children. But beyond that, do you look at this person and think this person is totally mentally stable? The reason I put this in the things that I hate segment is not because I hate Stephanie Walsh. I don't care about Stephanie Walsh particularly much. In fact, I feel kind of terrible for this person because I feel terrible for mentally ill people. Mentally ill people need to be taken care of, and they should not be humored. What I hate is a society that pretends that science suggests that what you're looking at on your screen is a 6-year-old girl. It's absurd. It's absurd. Don't ask all of society to lie and to, in fact, get rid of the basic differences between man and woman on behalf of people who are mentally ill. It doesn't help them, and it doesn't help society. And Patton Oswalt and all these other idiots who are out there talking about science transforming men into women, it's degrading to men, it's degrading to women, and it's degrading to mentally ill people, because the truth is that if our job is now to humor every fantasy and delusion of the mentally ill, this society is going to go downhill in quite a hurry, and it seems like it already is. ABC News and the Associated Press are pushing very, very hard this new idea that young, tiny children should be able to determine their own gender. Oh, yes. ABC News has a piece today that says, in some ways, Rainbow Day Camp is very ordinary. Kids arrive with a packed lunch, make friendship bracelets, play basketball, sing songs, and get silly. Whenever there's a story that starts this way, you know that it's going to go off the deep end very shortly. Right? It started off like any normal day until Bob murdered his wife and fed her to the dog. Right? All these stories. It seemed like a relatively normal place until it turned out to be one of Lenin's graveyards. Like it always starts that way. So it starts off, they packed lunch, make friendship bracelets, but it is unique from the moment campers arrive each morning. At check-in each day, campers make a name tag with their pronoun of choice. Some opt for she or he, or a combination of she, he, or they, or no pronoun at all. Some change their pronouns daily to see what feels right. The camp in the San Francisco Bay Area, caters to transgender and gender-fluid children, ages 4 to 12. Okay, so once you get to 12, I think that we can start having conversations about, whether you are experiencing gender dysphoria. At the age of 4, if you're a parent sending your 4-year-old to a camp that is reinforcing gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, whichever term you choose to use, you are doing something deeply wrong. I have a 3.5-year-old. It is insane to suggest that a 4-year-old is capable of deciding his or her sex. That's utterly crazy, and parents who are doing this are doing something deeply sinful, something deeply nasty to their own child. It is your job to guide your child. This idea that your child is supposed to lead you into something like sexual identity when they have no clue what sex is, have no idea what their genitals are for, don't have hormones, okay, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. The enrollment has tripled to about 60 young campers. This is demonstrative of the fact, by the way, this is true across the board. It's true in Australia, it's true in Great Britain. Every place where the transgender movement has started to push, what they've seen is an enormous number, the number of kids who are now looking to transition has skyrocketed dramatically. Now, what the left would say is all these people were just waiting to transition, and now society's become more accepting, and you're seeing more of this behavior. Okay, or it is possible that gender confusion can be created by environment or exacerbated by environment. This notion that environment has nothing to do with sexual identity or sexual orientation or sexual behavior is just asinine. It's not true. Okay, there's been no evidence of this whatsoever. According to the left, sexual orientation, sexual behavior, gender, all of those things are hardwired, but sex itself is not hardwired. Sex itself is completely malleable. This is ascientific. It's actually anti-scientific. And to pretend that small children, 4-year-olds, should be going to camps where they are encouraged to revel in gender confusion is purely disgusting. It's purely disgusting, particularly since statistically speaking, 80% of small children who suffer from even gender identity disorder, right, actually suffer from it, grow out of it by the time they hit puberty. So just what a terrible society we're creating when we suggest that children ought to be making decisions about their own sex lives, but adults ought to be abdicating on that score. Really, really terrible. The article continues talking about a 6-year-old Gracie Maxwell was dancing in the sunshine as a Miley Cyrus song blasted from outdoor speakers. The freckled, blue-eyed blonde wore her hair in a braid on one side. Gracie's a boy, by the way. Once she could talk, I don't remember a time when she didn't say, "I'm a girl." It said her mother, Molly Maxwell, who still trips over pronouns but tries to stick to she, then it grew in intensity. "I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a princess." We would argue with her. She was confused. We were confused. Living in liberal-minded Bay Area made it easier. The Maxwells found a transgender playgroup, sought specialists, and let 4-year-old let Gracie grow her hair, dress as a girl, and eventually change her name. What a joyous occasion. Yeah, it's a decision by the parents to allow this kind of stuff. It's a decision by the parents to revel in this kind of stuff and make themselves feel better as parents of this kind of stuff. Listen, I wouldn't want to be a parent who has a kid who has to deal with gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. But for me to abdicate the decision to the 4-year-old is just, it's non-adult, okay? It's anti-adult, and it's anti-civilization. Okay, so this, unfortunately, is going to continue because the left is fully ensconced in its own navel-gazing with regard to the new civil rights movement it's created for itself. It's not a civil rights movement at all. It's a way of destroying childhood innocence. Okay, so we'll be back here tomorrow.